I've come all the way to Sardinia to hunt down small boats of the kind that are sort of central to Marlin's mission, just to highlight how affordable and accessible small boat sailing is. Actually, that's a complete lie. I'm here on holiday and I'm staying with friends in Cagliari on their boat before they head off for their cruising season. But while I'm in the marina, I've just been mooching around and looking at some small boats, and I just thought I'd show you a few. This one coming up here is, I don't recognise it, but it looks quite an interesting little thing. And then there's this one which I think is familiar. I think it might be British, but the interesting thing about it is that it's got the full width cabin roof, which will make great accommodation, and that sort of monstrously wide companionway, which I'm not sure about, wouldn't be that safe. But it looks like a sort of sturdy little boat, and it's got two sets of shrouds, so it's quite purposeful. And moving along here, there's a little yellow one. Not sure what this is, but on the back, on its stern, it says it's an Alpa Dodi 6.70, so I guess that's its length in meters. And then moving along, there's another little one, and this I'm certain I've never seen before. But again, it's got the raised top side, so the cabin roofs go right to the edge of the boat, which will give really quite decent accommodation on a small boat. And these are really the kind of boats that sort of typify Marlin's mission. They're available for hundreds of pounds generally, and actually they're quite often, you can find them being given away, and they really open up a lifetime of adventure. You've actually no idea how hard it is to walk, hold a camera and talk on a pontoon without actually falling in, but I'm doing my best, and you'll know why if this video stops quite abruptly. And it's the last one I've ever filed. On the right coming up here is one of my favourite little boats. We're just coming round its stern, and it's a Leisure 17, and they always amuse me because a friend of mine bought a Leisure 17. Oh, the pontoon's rickety. Bought a Leisure 17 as his first boat, or at least he thought it was a Leisure 17, until he met someone who actually owned a Leisure 17 and found out he'd been sold a Sunspot 15, which of course is 2 feet shorter. And you can tell the Sunspot from the Leisure, apart from the length. The Sunspot has the no round porthole at the side because it's 2 feet shorter. And this one, you can see, has got quite a large, needlessly large 6 horsepower outboard on it. But the fascinating thing about this is it's a British built boat, and I just wonder how it ended up at the Marina del Sole in Cagliari in Sardinia. I'm sure this boat's got a story to tell. And I've just spotted another thing. I call it a boat, but really it's more like a contraption. I'm just coming round so you can see I've never seen anything quite like this. It's sort of whale backed, and it seems to have a loft extension. I have no idea what that's about. It looks all a bit a real small boat that someone's decided to get all offshore in. But look at that attic extension, it's quite astonishing. Now, just on the right of this pontoon is a site you really wouldn't expect to see here in Sardinia. It's a Maurice Griffiths Golden Hind, I believe, and you probably know that Maurice Griffiths was the editor of Yachting Monthly and a yacht designer who designed a whole series of very workable and useful boats for sailing on shoal waters on the east coast of England. So I know his boats quite well because you see a lot of them in Malden on the Blackwater. Pretty certain this is a Golden Hind, and it looks doesn't look like anybody's on board. I'm probably being a little bit naughty, but it's obviously a long way from home, and I wonder how it got to be here. Let's see if it says on its stern where it's come from. Well, I can see that she's called Wild Oats and she's from Plymouth, and I'm just looking down at the rudder and there's a fair amount of barnacle growth there, so I don't think she's been out in a little while, but very nice to see a Maurice Griffiths design so far from home. You find boats in all states of repairs in marinas, and sometimes they're sadly down at heel, but this looks like it was once a very, very purposeful motorboat. You see a lot of purposeful motorboats in Italian marinas, but if you look at the seats in the cockpit on the left hand side, you can see there's actually a flower garden there. It's sort of returning to nature, and it's strangely pretty, but also quite sad to see a boat being neglected like this. Today we're in the Marina Capitano, which is just up the coast from Cagliari, in Sardinia from my base. Looking for small boats, and there aren't many around, but I just came across this one, and it's a nice little one. I'd say it's about 20-21 foot, and it looks like a sort of robust little boat. What I like about it is it's got the guard wires all the way around, so it looks pretty secure. And the other thing I've noticed is that very small Italian boats seem to have very large outboards. This is 9.9 horsepower, which really is probably far too much. 4 or 5 would get this boat. It would be all that you really need for a boat this size. But it's got a nice, secure cockpit, wide companionway, and the accommodation looks good. I don't know what it is, but I think it's a nice little boat. I've just been having a wander around the pontoons, and I came across this rather purposeful looking motorboat that's a little bit down at heels, and I just wanted to show you something about it, because I'm going to try and zoom in now. And look, it's got its own garden growing out of the deck. It's quite pretty, but rather sad to see. I just thought I'd show you another view of the boat that I showed you earlier, because I just walked around it and I realised it's actually steel. So it's someone's vision of a sort of miniature little sort of blue water yacht with its doghouse. It's like one of those radomes that they used to have in blue water cruisers in the 1960s. It's quite an astonishing little thing, and you'd just love to meet the owner, wouldn't you, and find out the story of that boat and how it was conceived and built.